minutes of Mintex Classic K get going here at Snetterton as they charge their way up towards Ritchie's for the first time. Sam Smith with his nose ahead of Graham Ridgway as they head up towards Ritchie's corner. Watch out for Alan Tice at the wheel of the Marcos as he slots through there in third position. Christian Douglas hangs on to fourth place. It's not a bad start for the Austin Healey 3 litre, the big Healey of Alexander Hewitson. He was able to get the grunt down when the lights went out, but of course that car's quick in a straight line, but it's heavier than the rest, and therefore through the twiddly parts it's not quite as easy. But everybody's safely through the first corner, and it's nice, Chris, that we see this fantastic mixture of cars that all running to peer and specification. And I like the fact that you do see them move around on this tyre.
Absolutely. The one thing I've always enjoyed about the classic machinery in particular is just the diversity you get. Lotus, Jaguar, TVR, Reliance, Triumph, etc. And also a huge range in engine sizes. You've got the 2 smaller Reliance on the front row right next to a TVR Griffith being piloted by Christian Douglas. He's only had that car 2 weeks, amazingly, because the Tuscan that he previously had, unfortunately he had a big accident with it in Knock Hill last season and is needing a complete rebuild. So he got hold of the Griffith 2 weeks ago, incredibly. I actually thought that was Jamie Booth's car. It's not at all. It's same colour, but not the exact same car. So currently it's the way of the Alans at the moment.
Yeah, so the Lotus Alans always go well in the Mintex Classic K. A big moment. That was Neil Myers, I think, that just lost the tail end of his Elan heading round through Williams and just avoided the tyre stack that was on the apex of the corner. So a full 360 from Neil Myers. Just sort of lost the back end of the car there. Seemed to step away from him, and once he was no longer under his spell, he couldn't quite catch it. And as the car sort of speared towards the apex of the corner, thankfully it just avoided the tyre stack that was there. So he will continue, but that would have dropped him a few places. That is absolutely for sure. The other thing I like about this series as well is that it sort of does sort of recreate the period racing, doesn't it, of some of the more nimble cars fighting away. Alan Tice is on the edge of adhesion, I would say. They're heading in towards Murray's.
Enthusiastic, I think, is another way to describe it. But in fairness, Alan Tice really knows how to chuck that car around. We saw Alan yesterday out in the Fiesta, and equally last year we saw that same Marcos chasing the aforementioned Jamie Booth's 4.7 litre Griffith, as well as a 6 litre Cobra. And right on their tail is that 1.9 litre Marcos. Absolutely incredible stuff. But yeah, Alan Tice really wrestling his car very, very well. We're seeing on stream the number 31, that's Alex Hewitson in the Austin Healey 3000 Mark II. That is right on the tail end of the 42 car. That's Lyndon Griffin that pilots that one. He'll be handing over to Nigel Adams during their particular pit stop. And yeah, so far so good. No major casualties so far in the race.
Yeah, no, so they've all been just treading gingerly as the race begins to settle down now. We're just having a look at a great fight that's going on. When you've got Austin Healeys mixed up with Ginettas, mixed up with Minis and MGBs, it really is a busy part of the track, and that's exactly what's heading in towards Agostini at the moment. You've got that fantastic big Healey being wrestled round the circuit by Alexander Hewitson. Just ahead of him is going to be Lyndon Griffin, isn't it? The number 42 Lotus Elan that's ahead of him. So this is sort of 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th all together, all busy squabbling away as they head out of Agostini up towards the left-hand kink at Hamilton. Also involved in that little squabble is going to be Alan Ross Jones in the Lotus Cortina, and Phil Bullen Brown at the wheel of his little Mini as well, which, as ever in typical Mini fashion, is cocking that inside wheel, isn't it, as it goes round through the corner. Well, every single corner that goes round, it's on 3 wheels, not 4.
Yep, full tripod mode going on in the Mini. And generally with Minis, they chuck the nose in and boot it to get the car back out of the corner going. I loved how much angle that Alan Ross Jones was putting in coming through Palmer's. Lots of sliding going on in that Cortina. There in the back of that particular train, you can see the Ginetta. There is the 420 car. That's Neil Howe. We saw Julian Howe out earlier on. There is Neil Howe in the Triumph being chased by... Just waiting for the stream to come around. Actually, I was waiting for the car to come into shot. There we go. There's the
Brian Lambert.
It's Brian Lambert in the G4. Usually races with wife Barbara. Wife usually uses the MGB. Is Barbara out of...
But Barbara's out there. She started off the back of the grid, Barbara. I mean, Brian's been a long time MGB racer. Locked wheel. It's the inside wheel. It was unloaded from Alexander Hewitson as he tried to anchor up the Austin Healey 3 litre coming over the start-finish line. We also need to keep an eye on what's going on through Ritchie's corner for the battle for 2nd and 3rd place as well, because Graham Ridgway is getting to the stage where he's needing to stick his elbows out a little bit, because ever closing in Alan Tice at the wheel of the Volvo-engined Marcos as they turn their way through the right-hander at Wilson and start to stretch their legs a little bit up towards Palmer. Now, these two cars fighting over 2nd and 3rd are actually now 5 seconds adrift of our pole sitter and current race leader, Sam Smith, who at the wheel of his little number 85 Lotus Elan is disappearing ever more up the road. We're talking about cocking wheels, aren't we? The Mini's cocking the inside rear wheel round the corners. You notice on Alan Tice's Marcus, it's the inside front wheel that's off the ground on some of the corners.
Well, he likes to do things differently. He's not one for stick to conformity. Yeah, and there you go. The front left wheel wiggling away, coming through Agostini. But yeah, I had a lovely chat with Alan when he came out of the Fiesta he shared with his daughter Catherine Henderson yesterday in the tin tops, and he still calls this his main car. This is what him and Chris Connolly have raced for many, many years, and to great success as well. Still chasing the Lotus Elan GTS of Graham Ridgway, the number 54 car, as they now head through Williams and onto the Bentley Straight. It's amazing to think, again, as I mentioned earlier, it's such a small engine, comparatively speaking at least, in the Marcos, yet it can still put the pace in. You can see at the top of the screen that big gaggle of cars still arguing for their particular spot. And there you go, there's a lovely, great promotional shot there. Elan, Marcos, TVR Griffith, absolutely wonderful stuff. Yeah,
we used to have a motor industry, didn't we, in the UK? What happened there? Right, the rest is history. Let's not talk about that. Yeah, the Marcos, it was always a quick car. It was very successful in endurance races and still is now in historic racing. But yeah, well-driven Marcos that Alan Tice, he said yesterday when he was talking to you, knows like the back of his hand. I'm afraid Neil Myers is out of the race. He had the spin earlier on coming out of Williams, but it looks as though Mike Flewitt is not going to take the opportunity to be able to get behind the wheel of that number 58 car, but he's pulled it off on the way in towards Agostini, that is, where he's chatting to one of the marshals and will disappear out of the way, I'm afraid to say. Yeah, so Alan Tice, he knows that car superbly well. It's a good chassis that's on it as well. It is a wooden chassis, that Marcus, and clearly no woodworm in it, otherwise it wouldn't cock that inside wheel, would it?
I love that Phil Bullen-Brown, full four-wheel drifting, getting around the Austin Healey. But that's how you race those minis, isn't it? It's just slidey ways all the way through the corner.
This is what sports car racing was about in the 1960s. The Mini, very, very quick through the corners, hardly has to slow down, but it loses out on power, not just to the Austin Healey, but also to the Triumph TR4 with its 2.2 litre straight-six engine in the hands of Neil Howe that sits behind. But come the next corner, the Mini's going to come barreling back up the inside and take the places back again. Those real David and Goliath battles that we always had.
Absolutely, yeah. The mighty Mini, no matter who's piloting, and there it is again. It's just it surprises so many people because it can brake so late. Well, when it actually bothers to brake, it just chucks the nose in and boots it generally. There's Phil Bullen-Brown. There's that tripod mode going on again. The rear wheel wiggling away. And again, there's almost the inside wheel of Brian Lambert's car there trying to do the same thing. There we go again, a wonderful eclectic mixture, Mini versus Austin Healey, and right behind them you've got the Ginetta and the Triumph, and like you say, a wonderful advert to the British engineering of old.
Yeah, absolutely. It's if you ever want to sort of understand about British engineering, I'd encourage you either go to Gaydon, the Motor Heritage Museum, just off the M40, or go to Coventry Motor Museum as well. You get a real insight into just how busy that part of the West Midlands was, and the UK generally, with building cars. Now this is the little Ginetta just heading out of Agostini. Chris Blewett coming under pressure from TVRs, the Grand Tourer Mark II of Martin Stowe that lines up behind. Martin Stowe is also coming under pressure from the beautiful looking Porsche 911 that sits behind and is looking to try and wiggle its way through. We'll see that at 911 of Stephen Osborne out in the Swinging 60s race a little later on today, but we are now unbelievably only 60 seconds away from the pit window opening. Remember, it opens 10 minutes into the 40-minute race. It then remains open for 15 minutes, closes for the final 15, and again, as we've seen in the Future Classics, every single driver, whether you share the car or not, you have to come into the pit lane, and from pit in to pit out, you have to remain in that pit lane area for 2 minutes before you can rejoin the race.
Yeah, absolutely. The Cortina fending off the advances of the Blue Ginetta. And there's the Grand Tourer having a look on the inside line, coming down towards Brundle. Can't quite commit to it. And I think, you know, the bigger car may have a bit more power, but it is that much heavier and much more difficult to slow down. There's that. I really am warming to that Porsche 911. Stephen Osborne in the number 80 car looks absolutely stunning. That 152, the Cortina of Mike Stevenson, I believe they had their first races here last season as well, and that thing is really, really loud. You know when he's coming along the road, because crikey, he does not make a wonderful noise. Not that I'm complaining whatsoever, it's a beautiful noise that a car makes.
Yeah, that twin cam Lotus underneath the bonnet of the Cortina Mark 1. Of course, Cortina Mark 1 secured the British Saloon Car Championship. It was called for Jim Clark back in period, and he's just heading up this queue, which includes Chris Blewett at the wheel of the Ginetta, then the Martin Stowe driven, very dark green, isn't it, TVR Grand Tourer that sits behind, followed by that Porsche, and then the next of the cars thereafter, that'll be Richard Longdon's Mini, I think, the dark blue one with the white roof to it. And Richard Longdon is coming under pressure from a couple of light blue MGBs that are sitting behind as well. One of those, I think, will be Mark Hope, the number 55 car, and the other one, I think, will be Sam Scantlebury.
It is indeed Mark Hope, and it is indeed the Scantlebury car. That you can see there he is, the 103, Simon Scantlebury and Mark Prutton's share in that particular MGB Roadster as they're heading down. Oh, there goes the Grand Tourer on the inside line of Chris Blewett. Has he managed to hold on to that one? Martin Stowe has managed to wrestle that position. There is, I would imagine Mr. Longdon is feeling very, very small. I mean, you might say that's an obvious statement being sat in a Mini, but when you're sat in a group such as this, you know, Porsche, Grand Tourer, Cortina, yes, that doesn't somewhat accentuate the fact that you're in a very, very small car. Also love the fact that Phil Brown, every corner he's doing, he's on three wheels. It looks like he's determined to roll the thing over. He's really throwing the car in, but again, as you were saying, Mark, that's exactly how they were built and exactly how they were intended to be raced.
Absolutely, yeah, and motor racing's not cheap, so if you can do some of it on 3 tyres, it's all money saving, isn't it? It's all money saving.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't blame them. It's like occasionally when you lose a mirror or lose a light, it's weight saving.
Yeah, there's always positives to be had out of negatives. But no, absolutely. It's the way you've got to a Mark 1 Mini. You've got to wring its neck. You've got to absolutely throw the car into the corner. Get the tail end, almost steer it from the rear if you can, because get the rear just unsettled and bouncing, and just keep your foot planted. It's an art, and it's wonderful to see them driven so enthusiastically, but absolutely on their limits, considering that the value of some of these cars and the time and effort put into the preparation of them is absolutely stunning. So it's a great battle to see as they thread their way out of the bomb hole and up towards Coram. They'll be about to conclude their 5th lap, this little pack that's coming up towards the braking area for Murray's at the moment, with the TVR Grand Tourer now leading the squabble that goes on behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that pack is not dissipating at all, is it? And whoa, lovely slide there from the 82 car, that beautiful Porsche. As again, as you were saying, beautiful car, a lot of value in it, and they are not afraid to chuck them around, which is wonderful for us. Yeah, we get to enjoy these beautiful cars in their kind of native surroundings. Bit of a lock up there, just going into the first turn. I think that was the Longdon Mini deciding to dip some tyres onto the road. One car I'm very much really glad to see this out there is Tom Andrew in that gorgeous Jaguar E-Type. We don't see very many of those here, but wow, is that a stunning car to see. And there it is, the number 70 car just coming through Agostini. It's gorgeous to look at. It's gorgeous to listen to as well. It has a very distinctive roar. It looks fast standing still. It's such a gorgeous car.
Well, it voted the most beautiful car ever designed. Enzo Ferrari said it was the most beautiful car ever designed as well. That's a Mark 1 fixed head coupe. And just look at the way he's wrestling the car with oversteer coming out of the corner, but a power slide, a beautifully controlled power slide. And what we're looking at here is Tom Andrew in 12th position, working his way onto the Bentley straight, followed by the number 8 car that sits behind, which is going to be Cliff Gray, who was a long-time Jaguar racer as well, things like XJS's and things. He's trying to outpower a E-Type down the Bentley straight. Outpowering it won't work, but outbraking it will, as he dives up the inside, heading in towards Brundle and Nelson. The first few pit stoppers are in, though, by the look of things. Martin Stowe is in, and also Luke Wass is in at the wheel of the Reliant Scimitar.
Yeah, that's another car you don't see very many of either, is the Scimitar. almost gold colour on the...
Reliant Sabre, I should say. Sabre.
I'm muddling up the cars as well. I'm blaming you for that one. I was following your lead. Yeah, but we didn't see that car for the last couple of years. We last saw in 2019. Used to race a Chevrolet Corvette, did Luke Wallace?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
That's gone to Dan Williamson. He also runs a Turner Mark II. So, Luke Wass is a very regular name and has been for a number of years for the Wass Performance team. And also out of the pits comes the 678. So Martin Stowe having reserved his pit. And away he goes yet. More pit stops coming. Looks like I'm going to be needed down at the pit lane again.
Yeah, the number 170 car, Mike Kenny and Phil Strader, just swapping over. Neil Howe's beautiful looking Triumph TR4 is in the pit lane as well. So he was a driver that was towards the sharp end of the order. So he will start to drop down a little bit from where he had previously been positioned. So pit window open and several drivers opting to come in towards the front end of it. Still going to remain open for another 10 minutes as yet. So Chris Blewett is in at the wheel of the yellow Ginetta. Chris, who is heavily involved as one of the driver representatives in the club for the Swinging 60s, as his wife as well. We thank them for all of their help that they do behind the scenes. We've also got the Lotus Cortina in as well. So the Ford Lotus Cortina of Alan Ross Jones, I think that is, that's in the pit lane. Or is it? No, that's Mike Stevenson's car that's in the pit lane now. That is car number 152 that's in the pit lane. And despite the fact that it's a chilly day, you can still see the drivers wafting the door whilst they sit there in the pit lane, because it might be chilly outside the car, but inside the car it is going to be rather hot and uncomfortable still, in particular in a 40-minute race. So pit stops continuing for those. No such pit stop as yet though for our race leader, which is Sam Smith, who last time through set the fastest lap of the race with a 2-minute 15.246, 2-minute 15.246. Matt Holborn in his TVR Tuscan is in the... I said TVR Tuscan, what I meant to say for Matt Holborn in his TVR Griffith. It was a Tuscan yesterday for him, it's the Griff today that he's got. He is in the pit lane as well. So several cars all in the process of conducting their mandatory pit stops. We've also, I think, out on track had a change for second and third place on that lap. I think the Marcos of Alan Tice has finally managed to unpick Graham Ridgway at the wheel of the number 54 Lotus Elan. So they were together, but it was a slower lap for the Elan, so there might have been a mistake somewhere through it. And the mistake probably would have been first sector, I think. That was where the Elan perhaps lost time, and that was what allowed the Marcos to squeeze its way through and pull away to a degree. So not quite sure what happened to Graham Ridgway there, but yeah, certainly first sector he was slower than you would expect him to be. So that might have been where the problem was. A bit of a moment, maybe running wide onto the grass or something like that, but it has meant that the Marcos has now moved up ahead of the Elan. So it's Lotus from Marcos, Lotus from Ford, albeit a Lotus Cortina, Mini, Austin Healey, Ginetta, Lotus and MGB being the top 10 the way things currently stand in terms of the manufacturers. Mark Hope at the wheel of the light blue number 55 MGB, threading his way out of Murray's. The car behind him though, which was going to be Simon Scantlebury, I think might have dived for the pit lane. Yeah, there's only one light blue MG coming over the start finish line, so Simon Scantlebury vacates what was 16th position and heads towards the pit lane, which means that now heading around through Ritchie's, it's just one of the lighter blue MGBs, the number 55 car. That is still doing great things, squabbling away with Richard Longdon's little Mini that lies ahead. The Mini in the hands of Richard Longdon will be handed over to his son Rory Longdon for part 2. Richard, not a huge fan of this circuit, he said. There's other circuits he prefers compared to Snetterton, whereas Rory, his son, who's scheduled to take over the car, absolutely loves Snetterton and this configuration of it. See the Mini still cocking its inside wheel as it heads round through the left-hander at Palmer. They're fighting away at the moment for 13th and 14th positions, the pair of them. Other cars still in the process of sorting out pit stops. I think we've seen number 177 Christian Douglas into the pit lane that time through, so he will rejoin the circuit in something like 15th position at the wheel of the 177 car. There's still, what, 6 minutes of pit window available as well. I think the first of the cars that has pitted at the moment is 16th position. Yes, so the 16th backwards is where all of the cars that have pitted have done. Any that are ahead of that are either not pitting as yet or have only just come into the pit lane. So the order's going to shuffle its way up. And this, I think, Neil Howe is the leading car that has pitted at the moment, the Triumph TR4. So Neil was running towards the sharp end inside the top 6 before he pitted. So he is looking to try and thread his way back up through the order. A locked break on the run in towards Wilson, showing that he's trying already as hard as he possibly can. He's on an out lap at the moment, Neil. I think he's only just completed his pit stop as he heads round through the left-hander at Palmer. The fabulous looking shape of the Triumph TR4 really has always been one of my favourites, I think, the Triumph TR4. Hard to choose what I prefer, the 4, the 5. I like the 3A as well. You know, there's a few that I would like to have in my garage. The 6, maybe not so much. But yeah, the Triumph TR4 always beautifully prepared by Neil Howe, and all of his cars the same colour as well, which makes it very easy from a commentary perspective. Blue with the 2 orange stripes down the centre, nice and easy to spot. Now, Phil Bullen-Brown at the wheel of his Mark 1 Mini is just making his way up towards Williams at the moment. He is the car that is behind Neil Howe on track, but Neil Howe has pitted, whereas Phil Bullen-Brown at the wheel of the white number 193 Mini is running in 4th place at the moment and hasn't pitted. So he is as yet to come into the pit lane and conduct his mandatory pit stop. And in fact, anybody that's inside the top 6 hasn't pitted as yet. So Sam Smith, Alan Tice, Graham Ridgway, Phil Bullen-Brown, the number 31 car, which is Alexander Hewitson, the Austin Healey, the big Healey is yet to pit, and also the Porsche, number 82, Stephen Osborne, still is yet to come into the pit lane. Everybody else has pitted. Timing screen suggesting 177, Christian Douglas hasn't, but I did see him come into the pit lane, so I do wonder if there's a slight transponder issue with his car. There is the slightly sideways. Well, it's the only right way to drive a Healey, isn't it, of Alexander Hewitson. Just got a little bit sideways coming out of the corner, but as he heads around the track, let's hand you back down into the pits and Chris Buxton.
Yes, I'm down here in the pit lane again. I have one half of the piloting pair of the 103 MGB. It's Simon Scouterbury. Hello, Simon.
Hello.
How's the car behaving itself?
Really, really well, yeah. We've been keeping up with Mark Hope there in the other B. He was a bit quicker than us he's a bit quicker than me, so I managed to keep on his tail, learn a few extra lines, you know, so it's going well. And Mark Protton, who's out now, a little bit quicker than me, so it's all going well at the moment.
So far, so good. I mean, again, you've been a driver pair for quite some time now,
We have,
and you've had that car for a period of time, haven't you?
Yeah, that's right, absolutely. Yeah, I had my own B. I got rid of that, and I share with Mark Protton now. He's a multiple Cockshoot Cup winner, so he's a good partner to have because he's a little bit quicker than me, so it keeps me honest and improves me, you know. So yeah, we've been together for 7 or 8 years now. Yeah.
Excellent stuff. The partnership's going well for you. Any particular aspirations on where you want to finish today?
3rd in class would do us just fine. First race of the season, we're both a bit rusty, so, you know, or a finish would be good, because old cars, you never know, do you?
That's a modest man. Thank you very much, Simon Scouterbury, for the words. So Mark Prutton out in the 103. We'll see how he gets on. Back up to you, Mark, in the commentary box.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, so we've got, 2 minutes remaining before the pit window closes. So Alan Tice at the wheel of the Marcos needs to get the hurry up and get into the pit lane shortly because the pit window will close. And also the same can be said for car number 31, which is Alexander Hewitson in the big Healey, because he has not pitted yet either. We have had the race leader in though, so Sam Smith at the wheel of number 85 Lotus Elan is in the pit lane. He is almost underneath my commentary position, right the way towards pit lane exit. I've also noticed back in the pit lane has come the Reliant Sabre of Luke Wass. Now, when that car conducted its pit stop, they did raise the bonnet on it and have a look underneath. I do wonder as to whether there's a mechanical issue now with the Sabre that might see Luke Wass potentially retire from this race, because to come in for a second time suggests all is not well. He is rolling his way back down pit lane, but I think he's going to head into the paddock area. Yeah, he's not rejoining the circuit, so that is a car that we are heading in towards retirement, I'm afraid. So pit window still remains open. I'm pleased to say Alan Tice has made it in at the wheel of the Marcos, so time to perfection by Alan Tice and the equally hugely experienced Chris Connolly, who has done a raft of historic racing both in the UK and mainland Europe over the years. But back to the action out on track. What we now have is the number 8 Lotus Elan heading over the start-finish line of Cliff Gray, and Cliff Gray is looking to try and get past Tom Andrews Jaguar in a straight line. Is he going to be able to outbrake it heading up towards Richie's corner? Yes, he is. So that is a change for position now. Cliff Gray now up into 11th place. Tom Andrew in the fixed head coupe Jaguar E-Type dropping down into 12th position. So those two cars squabbling for position. We'll pick up on some of the other battles that are going on as well, because I think Cliff Gray, now he's got past the big Jag, should be able to disappear up the road a little bit more. Cliff Gray qualified 11th quickest, Tom Andrew with 12th quickest. Their relative lap times are only 0.3 of a second adrift though in qualifying, so they were evenly matched in qualifying. They're pretty evenly matched in the race as well, aren't they? Now, the two of those were heading up towards Agostini. One of the MGBs that's heading up towards Agostini now with its indicator going, so it's obviously not the indicator as it's going around the circuit. It's busy flashing away at the moment. That's the number 35 Tim Greenhill driven MGB Roadster. Tim Greenhill is currently leading Class M as well, actually. So Class M is for the MGBs. All the MGBs sit in the class, and a big Larry spin, I'm afraid to say. That's for the Jaguar E-Type. Came out of Hamilton, lost the tail end of the big Jag, did Tom Andrew. It skittered across to the inside of the circuit, the left-hand side, and onto the grass, but thankfully that's a nice wide expanse of grass there that it simply spun onto. So fire the engine back up, get going again for Tim Andrew. But having just dropped from 11th down to 12th position, he has lost more time with that spin. Now, could he have lost another position as well? Yes, quite possibly, you know, because the Tim Greenhill MG is now ahead of it, yeah, as they head down the Bentley Straight. So the yellow MGB has also now got ahead of the Jaguar E-Type following its spin. So Tim Greenhill heading in towards Brundle, and Nelson still with that right-hand indicator flashing away. Effort that he was able to gain a further place because of the spinning Jaguar. So we'll go back down into the pit lane. Chris Buxton has got some more news.
Back down to the pit lane, I've managed to coerce Alan Tyson to speak to me twice in the same weekend. This time in what you call your main car. How's the Marcos behaving itself?
It's behaved very well, thank you. Very well indeed. We started third, and luckily, because the lad decided to try some grass work track, we're up to second. The car's going very well.
Now, you had a wonderful battle with Jamie Boots Griffith and a Cobra last year, and you hung on to the back of them incredibly well. I mean, considering the engine size difference between yourselves and also yours being a 1.9, do you have to adjust your driving style differently when you're up against the bigger engines, or just a case of running your own race?
Not really. You know perfectly well that they've got all the power on the straight. They've got all the horses there. So at the end of the day, we're just quicker through the corners, and you just have to be as brave as you can going into the corners. But the Cobra's always got more power than we have.
So are we looking forward to seeing you and Chris on the podium?
Who knows? It's up to Chris now. I've got him there. Knowing Chris, he'll keep it, provided your land doesn't come back.
Always a pleasure to talk to you, Alan Tice. Thank you very much. So the Marcos in very good hands. Started well by Alan Tice, and now Chris Connolly continues the way. Back up to you, Mark, in the commentary box.
Thanks, Chris. Yep, so we've now got, 12 and a half minutes to go. The pit window has closed, and everybody is showing as having had a pit stop, barring Christian Douglas's TVR Griffith, the car number 177. But I did see that car come out of pit lane, so I think that's just a transponder issue with his car. I do believe he has pitted, because I certainly remember that more than anything, the noise of the car as it accelerated its way out of the pit lane, the 4.7 litre number 177 TVR Griffith. So I think that's all the pit stops now done and dusted. No late stoppers that we need to worry about. The squabbles out on track still continue as well, because Stephen Osborne's Porsche is in 16th position as it heads out of Agostini, but looming rather large in his mirrors is the TVR Grand Tourer Mark III. That's a really dark green car of Martin Stowe. So those two are fighting for position. They are in separate classes. No, in fact, that is for the lead of the class, actually. That is for the lead of Class D, actually, at this stage. So the Porsche leads the class, but the TVR is very much nipping at his heels. So Stephen Osborne will absolutely want to try and keep Martin Stowe behind as they thread their way out of Williams and onto the Bentley Straight in a straight line. The TVR gets a much better exit coming out of the corner, and it looks as though Martin Stowe has almost drawn himself alongside the Porsche. He's also got the inside line as they're heading towards Brundle, but that would be the outside line when they get towards Nelson. Who's going to brave it out? The Porsche just keeps its nose ahead as they head in towards Brundle, so Stephen Osborne hangs on to the place. and hangs on to the class lead at this stage. But again, you can see that rear engine Porsche, the tail end sliding. He looks in his mirrors as they head up towards the bomb hole, which is whereabouts on track the TVR is. This is a good little fight, not just for 16th and 17th places it heads round through Coram, but as I say, for the lead of Class D, which is for those cars between 1600 and 2 litre as an engine capacity. TVR that little bit lighter than the Porsche, but the Porsche with a bit more power. However, it is that little bit heavier, so coming out of the corner, the Porsche gets the momentum going and is able to just stretch its legs, is it a little bit more away from Martin Stowe. Over the start-finish line I go. Martin Stowe's just got his nose ahead though as they get over the start-finish line. And I think he's going to take the place. Yes, he has, up towards Ritchie's corner. Martin Stowe with a better drive coming out of Murray's is able to pick the pocket of Stephen Osborne. So the Porsche, the left-hand drive 911, loses the place and more importantly loses the lead of the class as well. 10 minutes still remain. Sam Smith still leading the way by nearly 40 seconds now from the Chris Connolly driven Marcos. We heard from Alan Tice down in the pit lane with Chris Buxton a few moments ago. The Ridgway's BMW, now in the hands of Jen Ridgway, is sitting there in 3rd position. Christian Douglas leads his class, the number 177 TVR leads Class B in 4th position. 5th place is the Class F leader, which is the little mini of Phil Bullen-Brown. And in 6th place, that's the Class E leader actually, Dr. Alan Ross Jones, car number 171 at the wheel of the Ford Lotus Cortina. So there's a few different class leaders. Another class leader we've got inside the top 10 is Brian Lambert, who leads Class G actually, which is for the up to 1 litre Ginettas. And that's the number 32 car with its 997cc engine. I would imagine, I don't know for sure in that little Ginetta, that maybe that's a Coventry Climax engine in it. Not entirely sure. So into the final 10 minutes. Over the start-finish line, this looks as though it is Barbara Lambert heading over the start-finish line, is it? Yes, it is. Yeah, the number 34 car of Barbara Lambert, her husband driving the Ginetta. That's also in this race as well. So long associated with largely MGBs, Brian and Barbara Lambert, but Brian with his Ginetta that we see him out racing a little more regularly now with the Classic Sports Car Club. Now another battle that we still need to keep an eye on is what's going on between TVR and Porsche, because they were together heading over the start-finish line. Up towards Ritchie's goes a good little busy fight as well. The yellow MGB is Tim Greenhill, who was leading his class last time we looked and still continues to lead his class. He's got Sam Smith, the race leader, looking to thread his way by. So the number 85 car of Sam Smith dives past the yellow MGB. He's also going to sneak up the inside of Matt Holborn's Griffith 200 as well. Where's Matt Holborn in this race at this stage? He is now down in 13th position, the number 155 TVR, and running 3rd in his class actually. And Matt Holborn will have just overtaken that yellow MGB of Tim Greenhill, so that would have been for position when the TVR went past the MGB. So that's another little fight that's been going on. Phil Bullen-Brown at the wheel of his Mini heading round through the bomb hole and up towards Coram. Oh, hugely sideways heading out of the bomb hole. The tail end of the Mini was at all sorts of angles coming out of the bomb hole as it was on the very edge of adhesion, dancing around and almost punishing the Dunlop historic tyres that all of these cars have to run on. But he's pushing hard at the wheel of that 1300cc Mini that runs not just in 5th place but leads the class as well actually. Leads Class F for cars between 1 litre and 1.3 litres. So 7 minutes to go. Lotus from Marcos, from Lotus from TVR, from Mini from Ford Lotus Cortina, Austin Healey, Lotus Ginetta and Triumph for the top 10 currently. But our race leader, Sam Smith, heads through Shot and in towards Brundle and Nelson. And as for Tim Greenhill at the wheel of his yellow MGB, now that he's lost out to Matt Holborn's TVR Griffith, the next car that's going to gang up on is going to be the Jaguar E-Type actually, and again that would be for position. So Tim Greenhill in the yellow MGB has dropped from 12th to 13th, but now 13th is in danger and he could be demoted down into 14th place if the Jag E-Type is able to squeeze its way through. Remember that Jag E-Type is still in the process of recovering, Tom Andrew, following his spin at Hamilton a few laps ago, and that was where Tim Greenhill was able to go through and ahead to take that place because the Jag had a rotation and was in the process of trying to recover from the spin at the time. 6 minutes remaining. Sam Smith, our race leader, over the start-finish line. Here comes the yellow MGB now to complete the lap in hands of Tim Greenhill, and right behind him is the Jaguar E-Type. So that, again, as we say, will be for position, and Tim Greenhill has got a bit of traffic to deal with as well. He's bottled up behind Barbara Lambert's similar-looking MGB as they head round through Ritchie's. So he goes around the outside of Barbara Lambert at Ritchie's corner because he knows that he can't be held up here. He's got a Jaguar E-Type breathing down his neck, which is not going to be able to outbrake him heading in towards the Wilson hairpin because the lighter MGB will break that little bit later. But equally, the Jaguar's got more grunt, hasn't it? So 3.8 litres versus the 1800cc power of the MGB, and on paper the Jag should be ahead of the MGB, but it was that spin, wasn't it, from Tom Andrew that caused him the problems in the first place. Tom, as we say, we will see out later on as well in the Morgan Motor Company Challenge. So he's got 3 races today as Tom Andrew, this one in the Jag E-Type and then a further 2 20-minute races in the Morgan Challenge to come up. So he's going to be ready for a lie down in a darkened room, one would have thought, at the end of the day, because whilst it's chilly outside, as I say, inside the car, it's going to be hard work still. No power steering, no ABS, of course, manual gearboxes, a warm day, lots of glass, a warm race engine, and a very sideways Jaguar as well as he heads out of Oggie's, the tail end of the Jag flicking around again. Now, he had the spin coming out of Hamilton. He's safely negotiated that part of the circuit. The big fixed-head coupe Jaguar heading onto the Bentley Straight should be able to close in a little bit more and reel in that yellow MGB of Tim Greenhill that lies ahead, but he's not going to catch it by the time they get to the braking area for Brundle and Nelson, not at least this time through. I'm just wondering, the car that's behind them as well, I think that's Max Cawthorne as well in the red MGB, the number 29 car that is not too far adrift as well, so he could end up with 3 cars fighting away here for 13th, 14th and 15th position, and if Max Cawthorne can catch up, he would also be looking to try and get past the Jag and try and attack Tim Greenhill, not just for position, but for the lead of Class M. Now, that's all of a moot point because there's only 4 minutes to go, but it is starting to tighten up potentially a little bit there. So last time through for the Jag was 2 minutes 24. It was 2 minutes 26 for Tim Greenhill in the MGB. So this time as they go through, Tim Greenhill goes through 2 minutes 27, which is the same as it is for Tom Andrew, and also 2 minutes 24 from Max Cawthorne behind. So he's now 3 seconds quicker than the 2 cars ahead of him. So it is certainly starting to close up a little bit for 13th, 14th and 15th position, and potentially the lead of Class M. We've only got 3 minutes to go, though, as Sam Smith has also now completed lap number 15 and heads on to lap number 16, still in the lead of the race, at the wheel of the number 85 light blue Lotus Elan. Now, at this equivalent race meeting last year, it was a driver pairing that aren't with us this weekend in their Shelby Cobra, Allington Thompson, that claimed the win. Alan Tyson, Chris Connolly, though, finished second last year, and well, that's exactly where they are in this race as well, in second position. Ford Lotus Cortina getting past Ginetta, and that will be for position as well. So that is 19th and 20th position that we're looking at there as they came over the start-finish line. Ford Lotus Cortina of Mike Stevenson under pressure from Chris Blewett's rather diminutive Ginetta G12 1300cc engine that sits in the Ginetta. Chris has been, a long-time competitor in the Classic Sports Car Club, always at the wheel of this yellow Ginetta. What might he be able to do about the fairly nimble and fairly powerful Lotus Cortina that lies ahead? Both of them nice and neat and tidy through the Wilson hairpin, accelerating their way up towards the left-hander at Palmer. The other fight that we need to keep an eye on is another Ginetta, because the red number 32 Ginetta of Brian Lambert is right on the coattails of the number 42 Nigel Adams driven Lotus Elan, which is a yellow Lotus Elan. So that's another one that you need to keep your eye towards, the red Ginetta catching the yellow Lotus Elan, because that is for position for 7th and 8th places, and they were 8th and 9th places, and they were pretty much together as they came over the start-finish line last time through. So we've got literally 80 seconds left in this race before the clock has ticked to 0. For Sam Smith, he is now onto lap number 17 and just working his way through the first sector of what is going to be more than likely his final lap. Because by the time he gets over the start-finish line, the clock will have ticked to 0 next time through. Now, Chris Blewett is trying to attack the Ford Lotus Cortina of Mike Stevenson, but they also both need to be aware that Phil Bullen Brown at the wheel of the 5th place Mini is trying to place a lap on them. Phil Bullen Brown draws himself alongside Chris Blewett's Ginetta in a straight line, should go through by the time they get towards Brundle and Nelson. Can he clear the Ford Lotus Cortina? No, he can't quite of Mike Stevenson, but he is going to do it by going all the way around the outside at Nelson, actually, and managed to wheel his way through and past there. So that was a good run from him to work his way through the traffic reasonably effortlessly. For Sam Smith, it's been an impressive performance for Sam, and he is going to have almost dominated this race rather. Chris Blewett is in the middle of a Lotus Cortina sandwich at the moment. He's getting ganged up on, I'm afraid to say. So he has got a Lotus Cortina ahead of him. He's now got a Lotus Cortina behind him, which is Alan Ross Jones trying to lap him as well. But he will, I'm sure, let the quicker Lotus Cortina go through. But for our race leader, Sam Smith, he's into the final sector of the lap and is going to be threading his way up towards the checkered flag before too much longer for what has been an impressive performance from him. Having started from pole position, he's maintained that position all of the way and is now not far off heading up towards the final corner, because he's just coming around through Corham now is Sam Smith, and up towards the braking area for Murray's comes the number 85 Lotus Elan through the left-hander at Murray's, and it looks as though Sam Smith is going to claim the win in the Mintex Classic K here at Snetterton. Not quite a lights the flag victory, of course, because of the pit stop window, but arguably, had it not have been for pitting at a different stage, it would have been a lights the flag victory, and a dominant one as well. So Sam Smith comes through to claim the win. It's going to be quite some time before we see the second place car come through, which is scheduled to be Alan Tyson, Chris Connolly, that will finish second in their Marcos, as they did at this equivalent race meeting last year when they finished in second position. Through goes 155 to take the checkered flag. That's Matt Holborn at the wheel of his TVR Griffith. He will be scheduled to finish in 12th position. Through and over the start-finish line there for the lead of Class M as well, just going through. Tim Greenhill did hang on to the lead of Class M and finish in 13th place overall, but Max Cawthorne at the wheel of that red MGB was closing and had been closing significantly towards the end. There was only half a second separating those two in the end, so it did end up being quite close for the lead of Class M. So Tyson Connolly's Marcos should be heading towards us soon. There's still a few more cars to head over the start-finish line, including the number 54 car of Graham and Jen Ridgway, who will finish in third position. Alan Tyson, Chris Connolly have gone through to finish in second place, so the Marcos finishes in second place. The Lotus Elan of the Ridgways finish in third position. Now, where is Christian Douglas? Here he comes up towards the checkered flag now in the light green TVR Griffith 400. He finishes in fourth place. Phil Bullen Brown has been entertaining to watch at the wheel of the number 193 Mini. He will be finishing in fifth position. He's just on his way up towards the checkered flag now. And the Lotus Cortina, the Ford Lotus Cortina of Alan Ross Jones, Dr. Alan Ross Jones, finishes in sixth position in what was a great race, actually. We saw battles everywhere and still battles going on as well, because towards the checkered flag, Brian Lambert has snuck up the inside of the number 42 Lotus Elan of Nigel Adams, and that is for position. Brian Lambert sneaks eighth position I think that will be at the final corner. So good result from him. Let's have a look. Brian Lambert, yeah, 8th position on the run to the flag. He just managed to sneak through and take the place away, I think, there. So good driving from Brian Lambert. But with the last of the cars, I think, about to take the checkered flag. We've maybe got one more. Cliff Gray, I don't think, has taken the checkered flag yet with the number 8 Lotus. He should be heading towards it any second now. Yeah, over the start-finish line he comes. And maybe the number 55 MGB still to take the checkered flag as well, which would be Craig Taylor, having taken over from Mark Hope. I think that car also not yet has taken the checkered flag. But other than that, I think everybody else is home. So let's confirm the results. Sam Smith claims the win from Alan Tyson, Chris Connolly in second place. And the Ridgways finish in third place. Christian Douglas finishes fourth but wins his class, as does Phil Bullen Brown, who finishes in fifth place, and also Alan Ross Jones, who completed the top 6. In seventh place, it was the number 42 Lotus Elan of Adams and Griffiths, ahead of Brian Lambert, who claimed the class win and finished in 8th place. Neil Howe was 9th, and Cliff Gray completed the top 10. In 11th place, it was the number 31 car of Alexander Hewitson, the Austin Healey, that finished in 11th. Matt Holborn was there in 12th place, and the Class M went the way of the MGB Roadster of Tim Greenhill, who finished just half a second ahead of Max Cawthorne in the end, who finished in 14th place. The Longdons in their minis were 15th, with Tom Andrew in the Jaguar E-Type in 16th, and 17th place went the way of Martin Stowe, with Stevenson, Blewett and Osborne wrapping up the top 20. Problems for the Neil Myers and Mike Flewitt car caused retirement very early on in the race, and there were also issues for Luke Wass with his Reliant Sabre. So that wraps up the Mintex Classic K, and with those cars heading in towards the Parc Fermé area, we will grab some reaction from the drivers very shortly from Chris Buxton as we build up to the next of the races that we'll be seeing coming up very soon here at Snetterton. The GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC, on their first ever weekend of racing, will be next up, and it will be a full reverse grid race for them. We'll bring you that after we've spoken to Chris Buxton, who's down there with the drivers.
Down here at Winner's Circle, we have got our top three, starting with number 85, Sam Smith from MX5 to Lotus Elan. My goodness me, a class of one, Sam. What a great race for you.
Yeah, I mean, she was going really well. I hadn't really got no complaints. We had a little problem in qualifying with a bit of a misfire, but my mate Jeff jumped straight on it and managed to sort it out. And yeah, no complaints really. I'd just like to say that a good friend of ours, Angela, she used to come with us to all the races with Jeff, and unfortunately we lost her recently, but this one's for her really. I'm sure she'd have enjoyed it.
Racing in memory is and fair play to you. So will we be seeing the number 85 for the rest of the year?
We hope so, yeah. Yeah, we've got plans to. I don't think there's nothing till June or July time, is there? We ain't going to Thruxton, I don't think, but yeah.
We look forward to when we see you, and of course the pink MX5 that we saw you at earlier. Thank you very much, Sam. Great race, and again, condolences for the loss, but fair play to honouring the memory. Well done. We've spoken to Alan twice, and it's your turn, Mr. Connolly.
Well, yeah, nice to be here, I must say. And Alan did a fabulous job in the first half of the race, and I just tried to keep it where it was.
And that you certainly did. Now, you two have been piloting this car for quite a few years, and it's still doing you absolutely strong. So, what were your thoughts? Were you thinking it was going to be podium spots this time?
I was hopeful. We're always hopeful, you know, but a couple of pensioners, we're doing the best we can.
As you're showing the youth how it's done, I think it's fair to say. And will we be seeing you for the rest of the year?
Well, when it's Alan's car, so he decides where we go, and hopefully we'll be out several times, yeah.
We very much look forward to seeing you. Thank you very much, Chris Connolly.
Thank you.
Second half of the number 19 pairing. And we've got also our third place finishers. We have both of them. We have got Graham and Jen Ridgway. Well, welcome to the club. Glad to have you along. So Graham, first of all, so you started with the car.
Yep.
Is your first outing with the club?
It's first outing with the club, yeah. Been out a couple of times in this car last year, but not a huge amount. So delightful to be out and to get to the end and have a good finish.
My goodness, and bringing it home in third position. What incredible consistent pace. Was it just hope to finish, or were you looking to finish strong?
A bit of both, really. You kind of think, yeah, we're just here to finish. First race, we'll get it done. And they think, oh, okay, the car's going well and we're going well, so maybe there's something there. So it was good, and I might have had second if I hadn't had a little bit of a grassy moment.
Yeah, you were good enough to confess to us. So you could have spun any line there, and none of us would have been any the wiser.
Yeah.
And Jen Ridgway showing the boys how it's done. Well, what a marvellous race! Welcome to the club, first of all. But
Thank you very much.
A stunning effort. Bravo.
Yeah, it was really good fun. A bit hot and a bit sweaty. So.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people that from the outside, obviously, it's really, really cold out here. But everyone we've spoken to has generally come out rather red-faced. Because in the car, I mean, kind of just briefly describe it, it gets very warm in there, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I was watching the first half of the race as well, and the cars, especially the 60s cars out there, look so serene, like everyone's having a nice time. And I'm in the car frantically making everything happen in time and sometimes missing. So, yeah, it's very funny.
And still here in third, great stuff. Will we be seeing you both for the rest of the year?
You will see us on quite a few occasions, yes. Not entirely sure which ones yet, but we'll be here quite a lot. So
We very much looking forward to seeing you. Thank you very much, Graham and Jen Ridgway. Great performance, and we look forward to seeing you again. That is the Mintex Classic A done with. Now it is the third and final race for the GB4 Championship. Very much looking forward to that. Who's going to come out this time? It wasn't Nicholas Taylor's race in the second one, but who's going to come out in the reverse grid race? Stay tuned. We're going to find out very soon.